we're trying to get you to be in that other 10% that doesn't. So let's aim for that for tomorrow morning. Lesson number 1, validate before taking decisions. This is me a couple of years ago. I didn't validate that. I thought it's an amazing idea to have 10 extra kilos and a handlebar mustache at the same time and some weird looking hairstyle. That didn't work very well. Lesson number 2, don't trust your friends and family. They always lie. So whenever you have an idea and you try to validate it with your friends and family, they're gonna generally be nice to you, except if they're Lena over here, which will always tell you the truth. Ask her. But they're gonna tell you the truth because they love you, because they care about you, because they want to support you, and that's normal. So like avoid that. Don't ask them. As soon as I cut off my mustache and I like shortened my hair, guess what happened? Everybody was like, whew, like thanks God. It was about time. Nobody told me anything while that was going on for like a year. Okay, so like don't do that. Lesson number 2. We're gonna get back to that. Okay, so where do great ideas come from, right? Like a lot of people think great ideas come from like a spur of creativity and you just need to like follow through with that and execute as much as possible and magic is gonna happen, rainbows everywhere. That's not what actually happens. So you need to validate, you need to iterate, you need to test out your assumptions. That's why you got some models, that's why we're gonna go through this today. So Edison, for example, he didn't just invent the light bulb. He spent 10,000 times trying different filaments until he finds the right material that's good for a light bulb to work, that's cheap enough for people to actually buy. So the idea is, okay, this doesn't look how it looks on my computer. But the point is, ideas evolve. And we had some conversations this morning already with some of the teams that feel like their solutions are not there, or like the problems might not be as significant as they thought yesterday, and that's fine. So that's why we need to do pivots, that's why you need to get out of the building, which I'm gonna say a few times throughout today, and you need to try to talk, and not just try, talk to people, talk to customers, talk to potential users that you might have. So Felicia is gonna expand on that quite a bit. Most common problems, 1, deciding on an idea, and then like just going to execute before you actually validate the things. So we talked about that, no more mustache over here. Fear of sharing. This is something that happens very often actually. I started weekends, not over here. So I'm surprised nobody came to me yet and said, okay, I have this idea, I'm not sure if I should pitch because there's not a non-disclosure agreement in place and like maybe somebody's gonna steal it. It's not about that, it doesn't matter. If somebody can steal your idea just by you sharing it for 2 minutes, it means something is wrong over there. So, execution is 99% of getting an idea to success. So that's where your team comes in place. That's why I was really trying to emphasize on the importance of team and community and learning. So if you get a lot of that, forget about somebody stealing your idea. And that's why you shouldn't be afraid of sharing and of trying to get validation with customers, from partners as well, from anybody else that might be relevant to you. And that's where we're going to get back to the business model canvas. Problem number 3, assuming the problem is universal. Because you have it, it doesn't mean everybody else has it. It doesn't mean enough people have it to make up for a significant market that you can actually address to make it as a business. So that's where, again, Felicia is going to expand on a bit there. And then, would you buy my product type of questions? So biasing people when you're performing validation and when you're doing customer discovery is one of the most common mistakes that entrepreneurs do. Asking the wrong questions or having the wrong process in place for how they validate their assumptions. That can lead to false positives, which gives you the impression that you're working on something very good, but you might not. And I did that mistake a few times. If you want more details on that, I can give you afterwards. Okay, we've been through that. The idea is you need to work on a pain. That's one of the most important parts of this weekend. The pain needs to be real and needs to be shared by other people. So, there's number one problem for startups failing, according to research, is no market need. So this is what you need to nail today. Because life is too short to be spending working on the wrong problem. So some of the things you can get started to validate is to ask yourself who will buy it. We're going to go through this process. Ask the 5 whys. We're going to go through that as well. And then why now, why you, these are some things we're going to expand a bit later. So first of all, you need to find a customer before you actually build the final product. A lot of people are very passionate. All of you are actually very passionate. So, being very passionate about a problem and might get you very passionate about the solution too early. So you might want to skip and go straight to building that solution because you think it's amazing. It might be, but if it's not, you're going to waste the entire weekend and you're going to waste the time of the entire team. So make sure somebody is willing to put out hard-earned cash to buy whatever solution you're offering. Sales is the #1 validation you should be aiming for. So if you can get somebody to commit with $1, with $10, with $50, and the process that you got those people to commit that cash is right, and that's what Felicia is going to talk about, like you're going to earn a lot of points with the judges, and you're going to earn a lot of points for yourself to make sure, like to give your team the confidence that you're working on something real. Okay, early adopters. You can have that. Somebody asked about like a lean canvas. Is the team with a lean canvas over here? No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you can add things to your business model canvas. We're using business model canvas because it's something that most people know, judges know. It's kind of like a universal framework. But if you want to look into a lean canvas and you want to add a few things from the lean canvas to your business model canvas that I see some of you have with you, that's great. One of the parts from the lean canvas that you don't have on your papers now is this. Who's your early adopters? Who are the people that are most likely to be interested in buying your product? If you nail that, you don't have a lot of time anyways during the weekend. So if you nail that, you're good. And that's, again, something that Felicia is going to expand on. We talked about, okay. One of the things that people do is asking, and they do it wrong, is asking too straightforward questions. So, if Henry Ford would have asked, what do people want, and go on that, people would have said faster horses because there were no cars. But that's where asking the 5 whys comes into play. People didn't want faster horses. People wanted a faster means to get to their work. Why? Because if they don't get to their work in time, they might get fired. Why is that a problem? Because they might lose their job, they don't have to provide for their family. What do they actually want? A faster way to get to their work, or to school, or to whatever. As an example, so all the time it's really, really important to ask a lot of whys when you're digging down and like trying to narrow down the problem space. And that's, for example, truck won't start, right? Why it won't start? Because the battery died. Why did the battery die? Because the alternator wasn't working. Why did that not work? Because the belt broke. Why did the belt broke? Because it wasn't replaced on time. So the problem here to be addressed for that person with a truck might be the fact that he forgets to go on scheduled repairs or scheduled maintenance checks or whatever. That might be the core problem that person needs to be fixed. And that somebody else is not fixing already. Help with that? Yeah. So you don't need to like write all these things down necessarily. We're going to send it out shortly. The idea is like you can use a lot of tools to see what your competitors are doing already. This is mostly valid for web products or digital products of different sorts. You can use SimilarWeb, which is amazing. You can see how much traffic, where did that traffic come from. So you can also understand if your competitors are getting most of their traffic from Facebook, then you know like, okay, you're looking at that type of a demographic that is highly using Facebook, right? So you're gonna get all of this, pick whatever works for you. For physical products, it's a bit of a different case. We're gonna have mentors coming in that worked on, Corey and Jake, for example, they worked on physical products. So they can help you out with more with that. So let us know so we can match you there with the mentors. Cool. Google Keyword Planner. This is amazing because, as an example, I put in some keywords for this presentation: startups, business ideas, startup ideas, how to start a company, validation, MVP. So you can see there's 108,000 people searching for this every month. So demand is there, obviously. But once you break it down into smaller pieces, you can start to see like what are people actually looking for? What keywords are they punching in when they're interested within this space? So you can start to think what your slogan should be, what your value proposition should be, how much would you need to pay for getting one single visit on your website. Out of those $2 from one single visit, how many are likely to click on sign up now, take my money, whatever. So, having funnels, we can go through that later as well. That's another topic. If you want to, let me know. Yeah, we're going to send this as well. Google Keywords Planner is probably the best one you can get started with because people actively search for solutions to their problems. So if you go and you do a lot of analysis within your space that you're trying to address with Google Keywords Planner, that's going to take you far away. There may be already a community for your product. Felicia is the best at this. That's what she's doing for a living, finding out niche communities that she can address with new products and new lines and so on. So, she's going to expand on this a bit. But the idea is like you can go to meetups, you can go to Facebook groups in Bali or Facebook groups anywhere else. You can go to your sister event that, I don't know if you received an email already in the morning, but Margarita Island in North Venezuela. So they're a sister event with you. Yes, she loves it. So you can try to have conversations with them because they're in a startup weekend as well. They might need to do customer discovery and might need to interview some of you over a peer-in or Skype or whatever. You might want to do the same with those guys, especially if it's something that, I don't know, maybe it would work better for Latin America or, find the community that are relevant because a lot of times you go on Quora or you go on a LinkedIn. Get an investor afterwards, or if even for yourself. So if your main goal is to build a business after the weekend, then, and even if it's not, even if it's just to make an impact, you need to have cash revenue, right? Without cash revenue, you cannot make an impact because you cannot have people, you cannot have marketing, you cannot have a lot of the resources that you need to do that impact, even for nonprofits. So having the market and the market that is big enough is crucial. And that's where MVP comes in, right? We talked a bit about this yesterday, minimum viable product. So that's not this, right? So a lot of people think, okay, MVP, you just start building and you build and you build and you build and you end up having a mature company. No, this is what it looks like basically. You have the line of proof of concept, right? So where you have the proof of concept, you're gonna hit brick walls. Some of you already hit that, and that's fine. That's part of the process. Again, it's a process. It's not just something you deliver and you execute on. So the idea is okay, you reach here by 2 p.m. and you realize, oops, I'm not solving a real problem. That's fine. You go back, you iterate on the problem space. You have a problem space on your sheets of paper. I'm going to show you a bit on how that works. So it's a trial and error process, right? And that's what's really, really important for you to understand and to be comfortable with that. So you don't have to nail it from the beginning. That's what I was saying yesterday as well. Don't be too focused on your one-liner, on your name, on your whatever, because that's going to change throughout the weekend. Okay, so you have the paper with yellow and black. That's the validation board. The most two important things you should be asking yourself when you get to that are those two things. What's your riskiest assumption that you can test out with a small 4 people. This is what we can do for you. This is how much you need to pay us. Sign up. Once you sign up on any of those, it's basically they didn't even have the product ready, right? They were like, yeah, hello, you caught us before we're ready. We're not there yet, but thank you for your interest. They validated from 100 people visiting the website. If 50 would end up on this page, that's an amazing validation. It means people want that. People are saying, take my money and give me buffer, right? Dropbox did a classic example. They had the video before they launched everything else. It was an explainer video. They pushed it out. They did a lot of PR. Everybody knows Dropbox. Kickstarter, so Jake and Corey are mentors that have done amazingly successful Kickstarter campaigns. They can help you with that. I don't think it's practical to begin a Kickstarter campaign during the weekend? Maybe it is. They would know more about it. I never did one. I think from what I know, it takes a lot of time, but go talk to them. We're gonna match you up if you need to do anything, especially if you have a physical product. Kickstarter is a is they said like, okay, let's see if people are comfortable. This was quite a lot of years ago. So they said, let's see if people are comfortable to buying shoes online and choosing their sizes and absorbing the risk of not having the right size delivered to them and like, needing to return it and stuff like that. So they put up the website, but they had no inventory. So whenever an order was coming in, the founding team was going to the closest shop where they were like sourcing all their shoes, and they were like taking the shoes and literally going and mailing them out to the people. And they were seeing how that process goes, right? So they had nothing that you think they would for the business that they were trying to provide to the people. But they did it, they figured out that, okay, people want this can work. Then they started to invest into building all the infrastructure behind Zappos, right? Okay, so my last 5 slides or so. And these are the 2 models that I would really encourage you guys to use within the team. If not all of your team is here and a lot of people are still but the point is, ideally start with it's more important tomorrow for the pitch. Partners, we just talked with Felicia about this. So for certain businesses, partnering up is the key to their success. For others, it's irrelevant. So like, use the model. This is a framework. Use it as you see fit and as it fits your business model and your concept, right? But the most important thing over here is these are all assumptions. A lot of times when we were using just business model canvas by itself, what people did were like, okay, so we know our customer segments are 18 to 35-year-olds that shop a lot, XYZ. We give them a better way of shopping online so they don't need to go to the shop. You fill in all the rest of the things within your team in the, on Saturday morning, and you think like, that's it, we nailed it. So you put it all on a nice looking pitch in 10 slides, and you prepare for Sunday, and then what happens is that judges are starting to question you, coaches are starting to question you, you start to question yourself, is this really my customer segment? Is this a value proposition that people are actually willing to give me a sustainable revenue stream? Maybe not. So that's why we have this. So the idea is all the assumptions you're putting out here, you can write them down straight, use Post-its. I would recommend using Post-its because they're gonna change, so you can just replace them and use this model and use the same paper over and over again. This forces you to do this, which I love. So it forces you to map out all your assumptions over here and over here, and I'm going to show you how the process looks like. So the core 3 things you need to test out is who is your customer, what's the problem you're solving for that customer, and if your solution is actually meaningful, relevant, something your customer is willing to pay for. So you start over here, right? Like you absorb the most 3 important assumptions you have over here, your problem, solution, and customer hypothesis, you map them over here. And then you start to break them down. So you start to see, okay, you're 8 people, you're 7 people in the team, who can test out what? So you have, whatever, let's say you have problem hypothesis. You can start with that. And then you break it down into 4, right? So for Zappos, Maybe that would be people don't have enough time to go and buy shoes. People don't have enough variety at their local shoe store. All those things that you think that might be a problem for your respective customer, put them out, break them down into 3, 4, and start to test them out. Ignore this for now, you don't necessarily need that. But start with your riskiest assumption all the time. So see which of those assumptions that you have broken down over here, if that fails, if that gets invalidated, would break down your core business model. Because then that would mean a lot of the things over here would need to be changed, right? So, map them all over here after you put your 3 core assumptions over here, break them down into smaller assumptions that you can actually test through experiments. And the process goes like this. So you start from here, you map out your riskiest assumption, you validate it or you invalidate it, and then you start to see what changes you need to do. So those pivots that we talked about, right? So it would look like this. So this is like for a startup I worked at some point. This is a concrete example. So we were doing an event crowdfunding platform for venues. We started super broad. Felicia is gonna hate me for this. Event venue of all sizes. Wow, yes, this fits everybody. Everybody needs my solution. No. So what actually happened, we started to break it down into smaller design experiments. We said, okay, big risks for venues in hosting large events. But is it? We thought it is. I thought it is because I was working with a venue, I had an event planning agency, I had the problem. But the point is, did everybody else have that problem? Turns out not. So we started to validate and invalidate a lot of the experiments that we had, right? So what happened after I talked to 3, 4 more venues, I figured out small venues don't care. Small venues don't have that problem. So okay, it's still super broad, so large event venues, right? But it's better than all venues. So, small venues and medium venues were not here anymore. So we had the first pivot. And, we went through this process quite a few times. We talked with, 10 venues, understood a ton of stuff. And then we started to, I'm not going to walk you through all my startup, but the point is we started to see, okay, the problem that we thought we're trying to solve is that it's a big risk for venues to bring in artists that are expensive because they might not sell all their tickets to cover their costs. The problem that we actually saw, because we figured out that's not the real problem for small venues, large venues didn't care about their financials. They cared more about their branding and damaging their branding, right? So problem got shifted after 5 conversations that we had. Then solutions started to get shifted, everything else. So we've been a few more times through this process until we had something that we're way more comfortable with to actually go forward with. This was during a startup weekend, by the way. So it's doable. It sounds like a lot of work, and it is, but we did it during a startup weekend. And when we presented this to the judges, and when we said, we won the first prize. So when we got to the judges, and we said look, we started with this, now we know it's crap. It sounded great at the time, Friday, it was amazing. It's not amazing anymore, but this is what we've learned. This is what we learned again and again, and this is where we are now. Believe in us, vote for us, whatever. So that's pretty much from my part. Any questions on the 2 models before I hand over to Felicia? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How much time should we spend on the business model now?
So I would say don't spend too much time. Try to aim at half an hour to map up your first set of assumptions. Ignore things that you think are not relevant for you, right? So if key resources is not relevant now, ignore it. What I would suggest you start with is customer segments, value propositions, channels, maybe key partners depending on what you're working on, key activities, and revenue streams. If you nail those, the rest are kind of falling in place, right? So be selective. You have questions and guiding. It's too small to see over here, but you can probably, can you read them on your papers? I haven't seen the papers. Yeah? Okay, cool. Yeah, so just use that on the papers. Go through this very fast, use half an hour, map it all out. You're gonna need to do in an hour and a half, you're gonna need to do a pitch check-in with the mentors, right? So that's gonna help you really focus down the core of your concepts. And afterwards, this is gonna be especially useful afterwards. So I would say use the time that you have until lunch on the business model canvas. Go through this maybe, but this might change a lot based on mentors challenging you after lunch, right? So like start with this. A lot of things might shift. After you have your first initial interaction with the mentors, you might start to say like, okay, we're comfortable to start going out of the building and challenging everything else. If you think you've already done some of the things and you think like you're pretty solid to begin with this, maybe you did some validation before the weekend, maybe you did some validation last night or this early morning, maybe your teammates out there in the back, maybe they're working exactly on this and they have some new insights. Awesome. Begin with this, go ahead. So that would be my recommendation. Any more questions? Okay. Come and ask me if you have anything, if you need anything with this. I'm gonna pitch in on each of the teams and try to give you some help and also try to understand what you're working on, because I actually don't know what you're working on. So I was like busy yelling around yesterday too much. So now it's my turn to like come in as a auxiliary mentor and I'll help you out with whatever you guys need. So that's it from my side. I'm gonna pass over to Felicia. Thank you.
I think Andre was a marketer in his past life. He probably covered everything I will talk about.
No. This, or you can press this and this will go back.
Sorry, not in technology. Okay, so I'm gonna talk a lot more about consumers. I really do believe, like Andre said, that who you're selling to is going to determine a lot. It's going to help you skip over a lot of places that you probably don't need to go into if your product is not going to work in the first place. So I do believe that consumers, and sorry if some of you guys saw a workshop I did earlier this week, you may see some of the same stuff, but getting to know your consumers is going to help you do a lot of things. It's going to help you identify the actual market that you're walking into. So if you think that your product is footwear product, starting to identify just saying the words, we are a footwear company, starts to really help you identify who you're going to be talking to. It helps you kind of start to think about your brand story. Who are we? What kind of images do we want to sell our customers? What kind of words do they use when they talk about things in our market? Consumers will help you do all of that, help you optimize the market strategy and your approach to get to the money, because that, like Andre said, is the end goal, is you want to get to sales. And understanding what makes your customers buy will help you get there a lot faster.
Try to rotate it around, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, I can just do it for you.
Thanks, Andre.
I think your laptop froze though.
Oh. Well, let me just look at see what the next thing is. And I can freestyle.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to talk to you about is how to start finding those people, and then what you do when you start finding them. I know we have a very, very limited amount of time. So one of the things Andre said that is very important is to get specific very early on. Please don't say my customer is everybody. That is not going to get you very far and you don't have a lot of time. So let's say you're manufacturing coffee. Start with people that drink coffee. Don't start with everybody. It's too long of a process. So 4 areas that you can start looking at is you can break your consumer base down by demographic. How old are they? Again, starting your business model canvas and your validation. These are going to be assumptions to start with. Or you can use information that you're finding online. So if you go online and you start researching competitor and industry analysis, you can start to maybe see age groups, demographic groups. You can start to identify geographic groups. If your product, I know some people are working on things that are Bali based. So you know that you're either going to be looking at people who are traveling to Bali, people who live in Bali, get specific about geographic targets. Psychographic, it's very important to start understanding what type of customer you're working with. Is this a person who cares about price? Are they price conscious? If so, you want to be thinking about that in your price model. Don't make your prices too high. Are they people who are time conscious? If you look at Starbucks, when they started doing customer segmentation, they really did target people that were time conscious, people who were commuting from home to work but wanted somewhere to have an intimate experience. Oh, sorry. Back. Intimate experience, but with very short amount of time. So those are ways you start looking at psychographic segmentation and behavioral. When you look at activities, what are the lifestyle? One of the things that I believe wholeheartedly is you watch what your consumers are doing more than you're just listening to the very specific things they're saying. You read in between the lines. Where else are they shopping? What else are they into? Do they drink coffee every day, or do they drink coffee once a month? Really try to understand the behavioral targets of your customer base, and then you can start breaking them up into categories that help you identify them. So here are some ways that you can start looking at how to collect this data. Andre went through a lot of secondary data collection techniques, going online, using things like Google keyword search, use competitor analysis. If it's a market that you know other people have somewhat entered, or there's a community of like-minded people already, start going online. If it's an app, go into the app stores, go into iTunes, go into Google Play. Start looking at reviews. Is there something that's missing? Are people on Instagram already talking about this idea or this concept, or are they already a part of that community? And then start micro-segmenting and seeing what else they're doing. Primary, this is when Andre talks about getting out of the building. There are 3 different primary techniques that I typically like to use. The first is observation method. This is when you start watching people's behavior. You put them in a situation, or you go into a scenario that is likened to what you're trying to propose to them. So if you are, I think someone here is working on a water refill project. Take the water refill tank, go outside, put a sign up. Do people stop? Do they want it? Do they have water bottles? Do they not have water bottles? You'll learn a lot when you watch people in their natural habitat start to either gravitate or not gravitate towards your solution. In the observation method, well, we'll go through tips and tricks, but the other one is product testing. Again, when the mentors get here who do a lot of product, like tangible products, they can help you a lot with the product testing. It's really just, if you have something that you can get in front of people, get it in front of them, watch their behaviors through it. And then interviews, questionnaires, and surveys, which I will say I am not a huge fan of. I think sometimes when you're conducting interviews and surveys yourself, you pose a lot of biases. So you want to be careful about doing interviews and surveys, but we'll give you some tips and tricks on that. So back to observations. So these are just really quick examples and tips for each of these areas to kind of maybe help you navigate through. If you can, record them. If you have your phone and you can videotape, or if you have a audio recorder, try to record your data collection as best as possible, because we're trying to watch what people are doing in the moment. We're actually probably looking to see if they go do the thing we want them to do, which again creates a bias. If you record it, you can go back and watch it and see if they're actually doing things that you want them to do or not. Remember, it's about studying behaviors, not feedback. So you want to be careful of saying, if I give you this, would you use it? You know, it's kind of more so when you're shopping online, what motivates you to shop online? What motivates you to go to the sites you go to? How much, or watching somebody go online, how much time do they spend on the website before they start buying? Little things like that is more observational than it is feedback. Andre spoke about questions should be open-ended. That's very important. It's sort of, why did you do that? What made you want to do that? Not pushing your own product. It won't get you very far. It's going to create a bias that's going to make you think your product is good, and it may just not be. Product testing, again, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you're someone, I think someone else is working on a event company and design, go to event spaces. There's tons of honeymooners walking around Bali. Talk to them, get insight from them. What would they want to see for their wedding if they're doing a wedding here in Bali? Go to some of the hotels that are known for doing events. Would they hire a company like yours? That starts to help you develop your business model and also your marketing strategy. When you're doing product testing and when you're doing observations, observe first and start to ask your questions after you're observing behaviors, unless your questions are motivating them to behave. But after that, you kind of want to get in the nitty-gritty once you are starting to observe what they're already doing. Do side-by-side testing for market comparison and competitive value. So if you feel like there is something else in the market that people may be doing or may be similar, put it side by side. I'm sure you've seen the commercials where people are testing washing detergent. They're like, more people chose ours over Tide. How true that is, we don't know, but they kind of do this blind testing. It works. Try it. Interview surveys, again, record this if possible so you could go back afterwards and observe kind of what people are saying. Bring someone in who is not a part of your team. If you do decide to do interviews and surveys, get someone who's maybe just around helping, who has some extra time, because they won't have the biases. They're not sitting in. They really are just asking questions that you give them. You'll be recording it, and then you as a team who kind of have a better understanding of your product can then compare their answers to what your solution may be. And you know, what questions you ask are also important. Again, make it behavior focused, not you're pushing them to do it. So if you're at Starbucks and you're interviewing people who just walked out of Starbucks, you want to ask them questions like, hey, what motivated you to come to Starbucks just now? And about how much time did you spend in there? And how much did you buy? And you want to ask very open-ended questions to kind of let them lead you along their buying journey. And then when you get the information and you start to input it into your business model canvas, these are ways that you start segmenting. So this is a consumer profiling chart that a company did when they were looking to establish an entertainment center. So they started grouping by demographics. They knew that these were the types of people they wanted to study. And then they started proving things or looking at specific areas. So they looked at frequency for going out, preferred destinations, common reasons they go out, and then how much they were spending. These are really great questions to ask just depending on what your product or idea may be, but this will help you get to the other areas that you need to fill in or prove in your business model canvas. We'll send this around so you guys don't have to take notes on that. And that's it. If you have any questions about customer validation or consumer research, or if you have some ideas that you're thinking about before you go out and you say, hey, I think this is the way we want to test our consumer base, please find me, please ask me. I'd be more than happy to give you feedback and suggestions and tips on maybe how you find your consumers and then go after them.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Some really quick validation on this validation workshop. Do you guys think it's useful? Do you think it's going to help you out? Awesome. Let's get to work. See you back here at 12. So at least one person, the person pitching, should be here at 12 when mentors are coming in and when you need to pitch in front of the mentors. Very brief, 1 minute. What are you working on? What problem you're solving? What problems are you facing? What do you need help with? That's it. Cool. See you at 12. Yeah, we're gonna send it out.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
I don't know.
I mean,
how.
I got ahead of myself. I'm gonna ask you if it's fine for you to send out like your parts as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely. How we do that I don't know.
Vito,
Should I do it as a Google link?
can you export it as a PDF?
Let's solve the
Oh
problem.
yeah.
Hangover.
Always.
That margarita.
I like that. I like
I
that.
don't have hangover, but
Oh my God, the W Hotel did a partnership with this drink company that literally, when you stay at their hotels, they have that little drink bottle.
Yeah?
It's amazing. It's a hangover drink.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard about this W hotel it's in.
Oh, there's one in Seminyak.
In Seminyak,
Yeah.
there's one.
Yeah, a friend of mine actually runs the marketing.
Export it as a PDF and send it to Vito. And then Vito
hangover,
to send it out.
hangover juice.
Yeah, I think there's this called like hangover water.
Because he needs to send out some other info as well. I don't know if you did it already. But anyway,
All right, I just saved it.
Okay, cool. Send it to Vito and then
It's really warm in here.
Probably brought it. Listen, I'm more than happy to help it.